The following information was sourced from or written by Kathi Stringer.
All right. Ready to dive into something that probably, honestly, like everyone's dealt with at some point.
Let's hear it.
Codependency. We've got this source all about breaking free, and it's got me thinking, relationships, man, they can be a real trip sometimes.
No kidding. And, people throw around codependency, but they don't always get how deeply it can mess things up.
Right. Like we've all got that friend, calls you for advice on every little thing, or hey, maybe we're that friend, who knows? But this source is saying it's bigger than just being a bit clingy. Yeah.
Way bigger. It's a whole style of relating to people, how you interact. Like it actually calls it out, a style of relating involving, get this, aggression, submissiveness, people-pleasing, neediness. Wild how different that can look person to person, though, huh?
Makes total sense, though. So it's not just me being scared to say no to my mother-in-law then. Although now that I think about it, those baking requests, whole other story.
Maybe we'll pack that later. But first, this source goes into unconscious pathology. What's that all about?
Sounds kind of intense when you put it like that.
Right. Basically, it's saying these patterns we have in relationships, often rooted in stuff deeper down, beliefs, wounds we don't even realize are there.
Okay, so unconscious pathology, still processing that. Can you give like an example? How's that play out, really?
Totally. Imagine someone always needs validation from others. Deep down, maybe they believe they're not actually worthy of love, so they try to earn it by pleasing everyone around them.
Whoa, see, that's different. Not just needy, but like deeper insecurity driving the whole show.
Exactly. And the source makes this comparison, really drives it home, how this keeps people stuck. Codependency, it's like this medic and patient on a battlefield, they say.
Battlefield, huh? Now I'm really curious.
So picture it, medic totally focused on patching up their patient. Seems heroic at first, right? But here's the catch, neither one of them going anywhere. Patient's too hurt, medic's too busy fixing to even think about leaving.
Man, that image. Sadly, I get it. That stuck feeling, that's codependency for sure. Ever feel like you're either the one fixing everything or need someone to fix you, and no one's moving forward?
That right there is what the source is getting at. Stuck. Both people, depending on each other, to fill some void, even if it's hurting them long run.
Okay, so we're stuck in this battlefield situation, right? But then the source goes in a really interesting direction. It talks about toddlers and saying no.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
As a model for breaking free. Even calls them little spirit guides to healthy boundaries.
Right, and it's funny because when they're in that phase, yelling no at everything, source points out that's actually healthy, developmentally.
I mean, most parents probably wouldn't call a tantrum healthy.
I know. But they're learning to assert themselves, break from that constant caregiver need, makes sense in this light.
Totally. Though as adults,
Yeah.
we kind of lose that, yeah. Especially in these codependent relationships, it's like,
We forget how to do that.
yes, taking care of everyone else, needing their approval, our own stuff goes out the window.
Totally. And the source is saying that's where saying no comes back in.
Okay, so how do we tap into that toddler energy, but without like a meltdown at the grocery store? What's the healthy no?
It's about boundaries.
Yeah.
Recognizing you can say no, and it doesn't have to be mean, it's about what you're okay with.
Right, not selfish, but like self-respect.
Exactly. And that's huge EE for breaking free from that medic role we talked about. But I'm sure people are thinking, easier said than done, yeah.
100%, especially if you're wired to put everyone else first.
Takes practice, for sure. But the source had some examples really clicked with me. Like, say someone's always asking advice to the point you're drained. Instead of solving it, try, this sounds tough. What are some ways you think you could approach it?
Ooh, I like that. Acknowledging but not taking on the problem.
Right. Or someone needs you to agree with their feelings all the time, even when you don't. Instead of just going along, you can say, I get why you feel that way. It's important to me to hear it, but I see it differently. Hope you can respect that.
Okay, so it's like honesty more than anything.
Yes. Being real with them and yourself.
Yeah.
That's what the source is getting at. Even when it's uncomfortable, that honesty builds healthier relationships long term.
I'm really starting to see this whole no thing as kind of powerful, you know? Like it's small, but it sets that line. And we get our own needs met too. But I gotta say, even with these good examples, untangling all this codependency stuff can feel like, whoa, where do I even start?
Yeah, it's definitely a process.
Right.
And it takes work, no doubt. But the source, they say something interesting. They call it mind surgery to really separate from these tendencies.
Mind surgery. Okay, now that's a little intense.
I know, right?
Like, are we talking actual scalpels here? Asking for a friend who's a bit squeamish? Ha ha ha.
No operating rooms necessary. Don't worry. What they mean is It takes some deep diving into our own heads. Like, what are those beliefs, those wounds driving this? Then we can actually shift those.
Okay, so less scalpels, more like mental gym time makes more sense, especially since we talked about those insecurities being at the root of it all. But how do we do that? What are our mental workouts?
Well, we already hit on one, setting boundaries. Could be as simple as saying no when you're overloaded, or trying out those responses we talked about. No need to go from 0 to 60 right away, right?
Baby steps, love it. Way less scary than a whole personality makeover. But beyond boundaries, what else?
Source is big on self-reflection. Like, ask yourself, what makes me happy? What do I need deep down? Often codependency pops up when we're so busy with everyone else's needs, we forget our own.
So true. It's like we forget we're allowed to have needs too.
And that taking care of them isn't selfish. It's how we make healthy relationships, period.
This whole deep dive has been honestly eye-opening. We covered what codependency is, how to see it, and most importantly, how to start breaking free, build those healthier connections, right?
Absolutely. And remember, it's a journey, not a race. Be kind to yourself along the way. Small victories count. And hey, there's help out there. Therapists, coaches, support groups, they get this stuff.
So to wrap things up, what's one last thought you want to leave our listeners with today?
That mind surgery idea really stuck with me.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that, yeah, this is work, but it's possible. So as you go, think about it. What other mental exercises can you work into your life? Untangle from that codependency and build relationships that light you up. That's something to think about.